What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. That is right. It is a Friday. It is a special Friday because it's obviously a Friday before a major holiday here in the United States and really around the globe. And what a lot of people do is everything now turns into a 2025 problem. We are on full-on relaxation mode as we kick off the FAANG Stock Recap Show here on the Investor Channel, where every Friday we recap all the major news and the technical chart patterns from all the major FAANG stocks. So we had a little bit of a pullback in the markets this week. You're going to want to see this. So when you see these pullbacks in the market and there's panic, always pull up the chart and we'll confirm if you should be panicking or not. We got a potential TikTok ban coming. Nvidia rolled out a very interesting computer, and we've got a lot to talk to. It's better kick things off like we always do with Meta Platforms. Start of the week at 628. Like a lot of stocks slipping, sliding down. This one down about 7%. Finished the week at 584. You're going to want to see this one technically. Now, fundamentally, if they can ban TikTok, it'd probably be great for Instagram and Meta and all the other social media sites. And the Supreme Court decided to consider the TikTok ban, but they're going to do it just days before the ban is supposed to take effect. So we'll see if the Supreme Court is not known for swift decisions. We'll see if they make an exception here. Now, senators are asking President Biden to extend the TikTok ban deadline, but many are wondering if that is something that he can actually do. Also, if he does it, then it would probably almost immediately get challenged in court. And since this is written law, at least from a past legislation standpoint, it's possible that the legislation would be allowed to stand while the appeal to allow him to extend the deadline would have to be heard in court. We are running out of time here. We've got less than a month. This is January 19th. This thing is supposed to take an effect. You've got a lame duck president who's obviously out the door. You've got another president coming in. I don't know where he stands on this type of thing. Obviously, this is passed law out of the chambers of Congress. And boy, I tell you what, even if you get a temporary ban where it's gone for a week or even gone for a month, that can derail a site. And so we'll see, just from a momentum and a user standpoint, we'll see what happens here. But I think the safe bet is if you have a mobile device that's preloaded with TikTok, it probably will skyrocket in value. I'm not telling you what you should do, but those things tend to happen. Now, Meta is adding AI video and live translation to the Ray-Ban smart glasses, which I've literally seen nobody ever wear, but I think they're actually relatively cool. And there is some data that Apple Vision Pro shipments, not surprising to anybody since they're like $4,000. It's like, should I pay like 4 months of my rent or should I buy a Vision Pro? Most people are making the smart choice and going with their rent. Those shipments are behind others like Meta and these glasses. Obviously, as the form factor starts to shrink, we'll see what happens here. But Meta clearly actually in the lead when it comes to this market, relatively small market right now, but they're certainly out in front. Now, moving on to Apple. Start of the week at 249. This one actually had a positive week, up about 2%, finished the week at 254. Now, lawmakers are calling on Apple and Google to prepare for that potential TikTok ban because essentially those devices administer and allow you to access TikTok. And if they allow the social media site to continue to be used, like that has happened in the past. We've seen I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I remember there's been times in the past where a social media site or something gets banned and then it still is available on the devices that it's preloaded, at least for a little while. Well, it'd be up to these companies to try to brick that as fast as possible, as these lawmakers are very serious about getting TikTok out of the hands of the users. Now, iPhone 16, the newest phone from Apple, its shares are its share of sales is trailing kind of the last cycle. So the iPhone 15, and very few people have awareness around AI. That doesn't surprise me. If you're tuning into this show, you probably have a relatively high awareness of AI. You probably use it at work. If you're a computer programmer, certainly if you're kind of a computer geek, if you will, you're all about AI. You know about it all. But until your mom, especially my mom, until my mom starts to text me and ask me about AI, it really hasn't gone mainstream. I remember really infamously, my mom started texting me about crypto. And I was like, oh crap, my mom's texting me about crypto. I went to my Coinbase account, went to my Robinhood account, and cleaned out all my crypto. Once your mom starts texting you about the newest, latest, and greatest thing, it's really the top, at least from an investment standpoint. So AI, in my opinion, probably has a long ways to go because my parents haven't talked to me about AI, don't have any questions about it. That's the vast majority of people. Kids in schools are not allowed to use it, at least the schools that I'm around. Kids are not, it's not on the table in school. They're not supposed to use it. In fact, explicitly written in the handbook of many schools, they're not allowing the kids to use these things. So until those types of things happen, you are just going to have a select few people, and few in air quotes, people actually using AI. Now, iPhone subscription service. I know you can get these through the carriers. If you have the Apple card, you're able to buy an iPhone or really any Apple device on kind of a no interest kind of payment plan. I tell you what, I've got the Apple card. The only reason why I got it was anytime you make an Apple purchase, you literally get no interest for 12 months. I mean, why would you not do that? I even bought some AirPods the other day for $149, and I put it on a 12-month payment plan because I was like, well, why not? Apple was tossing around the idea about an in-house financial product that would utilize loans directly from Apple's balance sheet, and they would allow users to get the newest phone every year where you just kind of swap in and swap out the device, essentially leasing the device. Now, you already kind of do that, and the risk is kind of pushed off to the carriers. Apple has an iPhone upgrade program that is backed by loans from a Citizens Bank, and obviously I talked about the Apple Card, which is currently a Goldman Sachs product, although I've heard rumors that it might get passed over to JP Morgan. Now, Apple is in talk with Chinese companies ByteDance and Tencent to integrate AI on the phones. This is obviously in China, where they have to have the AI say things a particular way. Otherwise, the Chinese government would not be happy about that. Moving on to Amazon, start of the week at $230. This one's slipping down a little bit by about 2.4% to finish the week at about $225 per share. A Senate report accuses Amazon of manipulating warehouse injury data. Now, I've got a lot to talk about here, so hang with me. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders said that Amazon warehouse, or the study commissioned by him, said that Amazon warehouses have significantly higher injury rates than non-Amazon warehouses. In fact, in 2023, Amazon recorded 36% more injuries than the industry standard. And this was really across the board. They blame it mainly, or they attribute it mainly to Amazon's need for speed, probably the volume going through the warehouses, and that Amazon needs to make some changes here. And first of all, you guys know I'm pro-company, I'm pro-investor, I wouldn't say I'm anti-union. We'll have a story of that when we get to Amazon here in a moment, but I don't think they do a lot of good for either side. But in this case, I don't like to see people, the hardworking people of Amazon, get injured. I certainly don't wish this on anybody. So what's the solution to this? And we'll have a story when we get over to Nvidia. Well, that's probably going to accelerate this is, yeah, you guessed it. They're going to replace a vast majority of these people. In fact, Amazon's already kind of doing that, but Amazon is going to replace the vast majority of these people working in warehouses with robots. And some of you might cry and whine and have to go get a tissue because of these people's jobs. First of all, it's not the American dream to work in a warehouse at Amazon. Second of all, these people are getting injured. This is an actual dangerous job. Do you really want people to be doing a low-skilled, dangerous job that can be done by a robot? That is what's coming. That is why I'm bullish on the robotics industry. We are seeing just the initial phases of it taking off, and Amazon's going to benefit from that greatly. Amazon could face a strike, though, here in the United States during its busy holiday season, and in fact, it did. Teamsters, which represents just a small fraction of Amazon workers, I think about 10,000 of them in cities like Atlanta, San Francisco, and parts of Southern California, they are currently on strike as they're requesting probably safety benefits and other things from Amazon, and Amazon has the capacity to work right around these people, and again, in probably a couple of years, replace most of them with a robot. Moving on to Netflix, start of the week at $9.28, drifting lower by about 2%, finish the week at $9.09 on Netflix. Big news from Netflix, though, this week, as the company announced that they are going to be the exclusive television or streamer of the FIFA Women's World Cup. This was typically, I think, on Fox here in the United States. Obviously, FIFA negotiates these contracts around the world, so different networks will get these things. But here in the United States, instead of network TV like Fox, you are actually going to be on Netflix. So Netflix certainly seen early data. I know they did the Jake Paul. They've got the NFL games, and I guess that would be 5 days from now on Christmas. They are seeing this is probably working out very well for them on a couple of different fronts. They also have got these WWE Monday Night Raw that is going to air on the network or on Netflix starting in early January. So this company is moving from kind of first of all, it was like on-demand DVD shipment back and forth. Then it pivoted its business to streaming, and now it's pivoting into live sports. And what they're seeing is probably twofold. Number one, creates a stickiness to keep your Netflix instead of being like, I might cancel. Now, the FIFA Women's World Cup is once every 4 years, so it's not a regular event, but this is a sign of things to come. The other thing that it does is it gets the Pepsis and the Bud Lights and the companies that advertise across a wide spectrum of television. Well, it's going to get them to come to the table with Netflix, and why they buy a package to advertise on the NFL or the Jake Paul or the FIFA Women's World Cup. Well, they might as well run ads on whatever else is streaming on Netflix these days. The only series I watch over there is Selling Sunset. Now, moving over to Nvidia. Start of the week at 130. This one bounced around a little bit, but actually much higher, about 3% finished week, close to $135 per share. Nvidia climbed higher on the reports that the Grace Blackwell chip, which is the next generation that's coming from Nvidia, is on track to ramp up in 2025. Have not heard or seen anything to suggest anything other than a very successful ramp of this and further distribution out to the clients. Now, it was reiterated as a top pick by Morgan Stanley based on this Blackwell demand. This Blackwell demand, look, we talked about Broadcom last week. I'll talk about the newsletter that I wrote about Broadcom and Nvidia, but the bottom line with Nvidia is 2025 is going to be a great year for the company. Blackwell is an extraordinary product. It's like going from almost, not quite, but it's almost like going from the flip phone to the iPhone, or it's like going to dial-up internet to DSL internet. It is that type of leap. Now, how much of it is priced in the stock? 44 times forward earnings, $3.2 trillion valuation. A fair amount of it is already baked into the stock price, but it's not like this thing's going to hit the reverse button anytime soon. The other thing that we're hearing from people, and sometimes I hear the objections in the comments, or, you hear from other people that like boomers or something where they're like, oh, AI's fake, this, that, and the other. No, it's not. And here's why AI's momentum just is going to continue. That is because AI startups, in this case, Perplexity, its valuation tripled to $9 billion in its latest funding round. Here's the transition, or kind of the track that Perplexity has been on. The company was valued at $1 billion in April. Then it raised money at a $3 billion valuation in June. And now here we are in December, and it raised money at a $9 billion valuation. You know who sees this? Is everybody else in Silicon Valley. They say, well, if they can go from a $1 billion valuation to $9 billion valuation, I can do an AI startup and go rent some server space from Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, and maybe do the same thing. Now, here's what's really, really exciting is Nvidia, under the radar, unveiled a new computer, or a computer chip, I guess you could call it. And that is the Jetson Nano. This is a relatively small device. In fact, how it's shown here on the website. If you're watching on Spotify, you don't get the visuals, I guess, although I think I upload the video feed to Spotify, so you might be able to see it, but it's a relatively small computer chip. It's able to run large language models natively, which means it doesn't need to connect to the cloud, which allows for more on-device processing. It also has incredibly low power, just 5 to 10 watts to run this thing. So what is this good for? In fact, what is this purposely built for? This is built for small home robots, maybe even humanoid robots, and Nvidia is getting in the game. Now, this thing costs $250, and you're like, okay, this is a $3 trillion company. They're going to have to sell a lot of these. Well, yeah, if you're going to make a lot of robots to replace the Amazon workers, to replace different types of things, shoot these things up in drones. I know that's kind of a sensitive topic here in the United States, but these things are going to be in a lot of places. Now, you're going to want to read the newsletter. Down in the description below, there's always a link to the newsletter. It is free. Broadcom versus Nvidia. I talk about both companies, and you're going to want to see my opinion on both of them. Moving on to Google, start of the week at 195, finished 1.8% higher to finish the week at, 1.8% lower to finish the week at about 191. The company's Waymo division is peaking Tokyo for its first international robo-taxi testing. Now, 2025 is going to be the year of the Blackwell. That is going to unleash some innovation. You're going to see rapid acceleration in AI there. It is going to be the year of the robo-taxi, as you should see continued testing. You'll see companies bow out, like GM's Cruise, I believe, and you're going to see Tesla, Waymo, maybe another company kind of take the lead there. And the humanoid robots will also get off the ground and continue to gain attention from investors. Moving over to Microsoft, start of the week at 447, down about 2.34%, finished week at 436. Everybody's going to Mar-a-Lago, and they're bending the knee like Colin Kaepernick did when the national anthem was played before 49er games. And in this case, they're reaching into the back pocket and pulling out that wallet. $1 million going to the Trump inauguration. This follows, I believe, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and others donating to the Trump inauguration. That must be a heck of a party. Now, OpenAI is going to make its ChatGPT search, which is a feature they rolled out, I believe, last month or the month before, only to premium $20 a month subscribers. Now this search is free. I think what these companies are seeing, we also saw, I think, Grok, which is a Twitter product or an X product, that also was a premium product. You had to have like the Twitter Blue or whatever, Twitter Premium or whatever they call it. That is now free. I think what these companies are seeing is you need as much data stuffed through these things as possible, and you need to reach an economy of scale. You get enough people using this, it turns into like the Google search engine, or it turns into like an Apple iPhone. Once you have, or like maybe even a better example, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you get enough people using it, the monetization can come later. Microsoft buys twice as many Nvidia chips as its biggest rivals. In fact, the company bought about nearly 500,000 Nvidia Hopper chips this last year, well above the 225,000 that Meta bought, and way above Google and Amazon, which bought under 200,000 chips. This is why a lot of companies, and this is why Broadcom's 2027 outlook was so bullish, is because these companies further down the stack, they probably want to be where Microsoft is, but for whatever reason, Microsoft has a great relationship with Nvidia. Maybe they're willing to pay the big bucks. I know Microsoft and Nvidia have a long history of working together, so it could be related to that. I don't know, but overall, these numbers are likely to skyrocket as we move into next year. Now, OpenAI released a new frontier model, kind of the flagship model of the O3. Now, this replaces, I believe, the O1. We skipped over O2 because I think it's a telecommunications service provider in Britain. Haven't seen any glowing reports. Obviously, Sam Altman's going to talk this up. Kind of AI fanboys will talk it up, but haven't seen anything kind of in the wild that would make me believe this is that much better than anything else. Moving over to Tesla. Start of the week at 446. You have to look at Tesla technically. I mean, this is like, I just love it when a technical pattern plays out absolutely perfectly, and that was Tesla as it finished the week down about 5.7%, not quite 420, 421.06. Now, the Trump transition team is recommending significant changes to the President Biden era EV incentives. Those incentives include $7,500. It's not a tax credit. You literally get this off the price of the car right away, and that is debited basically to the companies that manufacture the electric vehicles. It would also reallocate, I think this is smart, the $7.5 billion to build EV charging stations and allow maybe private industry to do that a little bit better than the government has. Side note is CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, I think is just 2 or 3 weeks away. I'll be interviewing the Blink charging CEO at CES. I think I'm going to be able to record it. We didn't really talk about that, but I think I'm going to be able to record it, and I'll post it to the channel if I'm allowed to do that. Now, Big week in Washington this week. Elon Musk really flexing his muscles. Seems like he has a fair amount of influence, or at least he's using his influence and his social media site to do things that he sees in the best interest of the country. I just picked this clip out. I don't have any problem with this lady. It looks like she's a representative from Connecticut. Looks like she has a lot of passion. Probably not somebody that I would vote for, but certainly somebody that I would listen to and have a conversation with. But this week in particular in the stock market was absolutely indicative of to where we're going during the Trump administration. We have priced in sunshines and roses. And as much as I like President Trump, he is not going to bring sunshines and roses every single week in the stock market. You are going to have higher volatility. You're going to have big red candles. Look at this red candle. I thought it was fake. I was like, is that fake? No, we had a giant red candle this week. You're going to have threats of government shutdown. There's going to be threats of tariffs. Tariffs might actually get put on. These things are going to create turbulence in the markets. And that is exactly what you want as an investor, especially an active one. That is very, very exciting. Now, moving over to technical segment, S&P 500 looks absolutely fine. This pullback came all in 1 week, but you basically pulled back to the top of the range. This could be an area where if you really are dying to get into these markets, it actually could be an area where you buy, because you've been making, at least since August, a series of beautiful higher lows confirmed by a series of higher highs. You would actually buy right here, put your stop right here at about 5,700-ish. And if you break below that, you're looking to buy even further. If the market continues to roll over, government shutdown, arguments, blah, 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 further pullbacks in the market should be bought. Moving over to Meta also. Yes, it's kind of scary when CNBC is panicking. Everybody on Twitter is panicking. Their $8,000 in their Robinhood account has gone down to $6,500 in a week. This was just a natural garden variety pullback, higher highs on Meta, confirmed with higher lows. I mean, on multiple stages. I mean, longer term trend, intermediate trend, short term trend is all higher highs, higher lows. That stock is still very much in an uptrend. Same thing with Apple. Long term trend, intermediate trend, micro trend is all higher highs, higher lows. You're buying the dip on that. Amazon also got rejected at a very logical area. Not the top of the channel, but these middle of the channels can be resistance areas as well. We got rejected. Pullbacks in Amazon, particularly anywhere in the high 200s, can be bought. Netflix is really kind of in its own stratosphere. It has broken above all-time highs that were made back in 2021. I think this one probably comes back and retests that area. Back into the 800s with Netflix are interesting. Now, Nvidia, very interesting technically. I believe it, now it depends on how you draw this line in. I still think you broke what would be called an intermediate trend. Started back in October of 2022. We've closed below it and we've broken through. Now, does that mean it's the end? No. First of all, you've got a long-term trend, really the entire history of the company trend that is higher. Intermediate, short-term, everything is higher. Also, what happens with this breakneck trend, so this is in gold. I'm going to draw a secondary trend, which we could find ourselves in. It'll flatten it out. Now, I'll use a purple line here. I know if you're listening on Spotify, none of this makes any sense. That's why you might have to go to YouTube, at least for the technical segment. These breakneck trends that are not quite 90 degrees or even 45 degrees, they want to flatten out at some point. I'll show it to you when we get to Microsoft. It's done that more recently. They want to flatten out at some point. Where they come and flatten out will be up to the stock market. But this one looks like, to me, it wants to flatten out. Still looks like a good trend with Nvidia. If you want to buy the dip on that one, no problem. Google also, long-term trend, intermediate trend, short-term trend. Just confirmed a new higher high. A pullback on this one, very much standard from a technical perspective. Pullbacks to like 170 can be your first area. Obviously, deeper than that would be very, very exciting. Microsoft. Here's a good example of a break of trend. So back here in January, you were on this breakneck trend. You break through it. All it did, though, was shallow the trend. Microsoft just hit the middle of the channel here. Had a pullback. You're looking for areas just above 400 to get back onto that one. And here is Tesla. This is why we love technical patterns. And there's people out there, some of you might even be watching, I don't rely on technical patterns. Well, would you like to rely on a pattern that is right a lot of the time or rely on nothing? So your choice is to have no information or rely on nothing, where you could actually rely on these patterns that are right a lot and are right consistently. That was the case with Tesla. We told you when you broke to new highs, you can have kind of a blow off top and anti-gravity. There's really no telling how high it could go. I mean, theoretically, it could go up to infinity, but we know that probably wouldn't be the case. Eventually, you find some resistance, and then what you almost always do is you come back and back test the top. And that's what we did with Tesla. We came back here and back tested the top. Now, if you're super aggressive, you want to step in on Tesla, you can do it now, because previous resistance can turn into support and you can move higher. Now, I've been in this one a long time, so I'm not going to step in at this area, but you get pullbacks in Tesla, particularly back into the 340s. I know that seems like a wild swing, but literally back in April, we were at 143 on this one. Now we're at like 430 almost, or 420. So pullbacks of $100, $200 swings on Tesla, very much something you have to be comfortable with. Pullbacks back into south of 400 can be a buying opportunity. Folks, that was the FAANG Stock Recap Show for Friday, December 20th. I hope you all have a very safe and fun holiday week with your families. Hopefully you get some time off of work. If not, put it on snooze and cruise control and tell your manager you'll be back in 2025 full blast, but you are going to take the next week and relax and have fun with your family. If you have kids, it's literally probably the best holiday, and I can't wait to see my kids' surprise on Christmas Day, and I hope to see you all again next Friday. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again next Friday. Good luck with your investments.